it's these finishing touches that you'll see people laugh about if you don't get it right on Facebook. And you've got to live with it as well.
Hello and welcome to the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. I'm Louise Gookey, and today I'm very excited because I am joined by the lovely Vikkie Lee, DIY expert, also known as the Carpenter's daughter. And Vikkie has been sharing her renovation journey, turning a flooded farmhouse, if you can believe that, into a dream home, literally one DIY project at a time, and has been sharing it all with us. So today we're going to be talking about some DIY mistakes that beginners can make, and most importantly, how we can then avoid them if we are looking to tackle our own projects. So Vikkie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Not at all. First off, how is it all going?
It's exciting, and every day is completely different. When you've got new challenges, it's definitely a learning curve. But right from the beginning, I've made a lot of mistakes, and then over the years, it just seems to be getting easier and easier until you get to big challenges where planning and regulations and things like that. I'd be bored if I didn't push my limits.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's so fascinating. Your socials and your YouTube, it's really inspiring, and you do, even when you make mistakes, make it look really easy, which is.
That's not the intention.
Well, no. But like I guess what I mean by that, like your approach to it, you're like, you can do it. It's okay.
Yes.
Like if this happens, don't worry about it. We can all do it. You make a mistake, move on.
I've suffered a lot in the past, even just researching, taking hours to research something. So I like to try and speed that process up for people to say, right, if you do this, this would go wrong. And it just helps people save time, money, and build trust in you as well, because there's too many people out there, I think, where they've showed how easy something is, but they've missed a lot in between because they want to appear as an expert if they're doing it every week, doing it for a living. And I just think it's far more interesting to show the mistakes, because I learn more from that than something going fine and then you lose trust in that person as well.
Yeah, and I speak for myself, but I'm sure for everyone who watches you, thank you, because it does make you just go, oh yes, this is not as bad as I thought it was. We can get through it together. Amazing. All right. Well, we're here to talk today a little bit about those mistakes and how we can try and avoid them, or if they do happen, what we can do. So let's start then with common mistakes. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see? I mean, beginners, but I guess anyone when they're starting with a DIY project.
I would definitely say not doing enough research and just trusting every bit of advice or very short DIY clip you might see online. And every house is completely different. I had completely different obstacles and challenges, like trying to cove around pipes that were ugly. And there's lots of ugly examples online as well. So you've got to take people's advice with a pinch of salt. Trust people that you do trust, if you know what I mean. Try and find advice from the right people. And a lot of it is planning and preparation, and it all depends on your skill level. So you've got to build your confidence up, little jobs, and it will come naturally. And don't expect to be an expert at everything, because I'm certainly not, and I will admit to that. And measuring twice, cutting once. I know it's obvious, but I get bored thinking about that saying and saying it. But often, I mean, it's so easy to say and think, but how many times have you've double checked the measurement twice, then you've gone to do it, but you've seen that tape measure, but you've logged a different number in your head. And I've cut some tiles wrong in the past from doing that, and all of a sudden I've just knocked 10 centimetres off, thinking, how did I do that, you idiot?
It's so easy to do. I think the biggest measuring disaster, it wasn't a disaster at all, hanging pictures and only measuring from the top down rather than from the sides
Yes,
as
yes,
well.
yeah.
The ceiling obviously was slanted. The pictures when they went up, I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
gone crazy. So yeah, it's I think can't underestimate measuring enough.
Yeah, and there's a saying for that. If it looks right, it is right.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so you mentioned planning.
Yes.
And actually, it's quite important to do that quite extensively.
Yes.
Where do we sort of start when it comes with the planning? Because, if somebody who's never done it before, how do we even begin to sort of do this process from picking up the pencil to actually getting started?
Well, a lot of things I've done in the past is you try and work out what you want, what kind of thing, and have a look on Pinterest for ideas. But often when I've not planned in the past, if I'm building something and I think, I get the gist of this, I'll go with it. And often it's that niggling question that you've had in your mind that's actually bit me in the bum later on.
Okay.
And I've realised, so you don't, another saying, you don't know what you don't know until you actually face it. So I would say planning is really, really important for things where you've got permanent finishes, like tiling, so tile adhesive and cement, things that, if it goes wrong, you've got to rip it out or live with it. And other things like when you want to refurnish a room or refurbish a room, do you focus on your walls first? Do your floors first? And it all has a knock-on effect. So in this room that I'm in, it was awful. There were too many demolition jobs that I had to do because just behind me there was an old, what looked like a receptionist window. It was really weird, or an old like sweetie shop from the 1800s or something with loads of little glass. It was very weird. It might have looked good then, but I had to rip that out. So I couldn't have just gone for nice flooring first because that would have damaged all of my flooring. And I wanted to tile my chimney breast, the entire chimney breast. So, and when it came to flooring around that, I had to make sure that I did the tiles first, but the floors weren't the right level, you see. So I purposely left almost a full tile at the bottom. I had to put some battens at the bottom. So then I had to do my flooring, and then I had to cut my last tiles. So if I did my flooring up to my tiles, you're meant to leave an expansion gap, you see. Depending on the manufacturer's instructions, it might be 12 mil, it might be 15 mil. It depends if you've got parquet or planks. And it's these finishing touches that you'll see people laugh about if you don't get it right on Facebook. And you've got to live with it as well. And I didn't want to put skirting board along on a textured tile because it just, I think that looks, I suppose it could look right, but...
Not what you were after.
Yeah, exactly. So you do have to plan your big projects, of the right order if you're going to do stuff. But if you're just doing something that's going to be cheap to do, it takes 5 minutes, and the cost of materials, the time it took, it doesn't matter, then I don't really plan. I just have a go, and if it doesn't work out, like, I'll just cut another piece of wood and have a go again. Yeah,
it's and I love that those little things, like you said, make such a massive difference. It's not stuff you think about without doing that planning, so it is really important.
So I was going to say, so any question that I have about that, always search online. You'll find somebody else has got an answer to it. And when I was doing the parquet flooring, one of the big questions I had in my head, because it's a big L-shaped room, we've got a big living room and a dining room, and you've got continuous parquet going. And if your room isn't square, you've got to think, what could that look like by the time you've finished it? So if you go online and have a look, you'll see some really bad examples on Reddit where somebody's complained, I hired a contractor to do this. And what can I do? They've got it all wrong. Oh, put a carpet on it. So you've got to try and have a... It's annoying. When you hire somebody as well, you've got to sort of be an expert yourself, just so you can and
keep an eye.
Yes, and say no, mate, you're doing that wrong, because you don't always know who you're hiring. and how skilled
scary.
they are. I could go round where I am, just hiring myself out and just winging it. And I couldn't sleep at night. And I think there's so many people that do that.
Yeah, you're probably absolutely right. And like you say, it's making sure that you're on the project so you know what you want. So when someone's not doing it, you can say, whoa, hold on.
Yes, yeah.
What other things? I know you've mentioned a couple there about the flooring and the tiles. Not that they were really a mistake that happened with you. You know, you'd planned them. Do you have any examples of where things went wrong? Anything that really sticks out? Any favourites?
The ones that stick in my mind, it's usually the earlier ones when you're starting out DIY. Because they hurt. They emotionally hurt. Years ago, and this, I'm sure other people remember different ones from me, but one of the key ones that I shared was I decided to do a patio in my back garden. Now, I'd already done it with sand, so it was a thick slab. It went on. I had hardcore. I had weed control, hardcore, then sand. So I was bedding it in. So that was a nice, easy beginner project because if you didn't get it right, you could just take them up and redo it. Nothing set in stone. Excuse the pun. But when it came to, I continued the patio in front of my garage in the next video. And this garage was, it was actually my workshop in the end. And it wasn't a garage door, it was a wooden door split in two. But I'd got it in my head because I never opened both doors, I never needed to. I just got it in my head they opened both ways. So when I laid this patio, great, I've got it all perfect. Luckily it wasn't the biggest of patios. So one door opened fine. And when I went to the other one, I'm like, oh, it doesn't open. And I think it was the biggest bit. So if I opened it up, I could wheel in tools and stuff. But I didn't really use it as a workshop at the time. And I thought, oh God, I'm going to have to live with this. And luckily, I tested the door right after I'd done it, which is stupid anyway. Always test these things first. Don't assume. And so the conundrum was, do I plane the bottom of the door, which I would probably end up having a 2-inch gap at the bottom where people said, oh, you'd end up getting mice in there. Or do I rip the patio up? I ripped the patio up.
Oh.
But actually, tell a lie, I didn't test it immediately after. I tested it the next morning. So it was quite a cold day. It hadn't set.
Okay.
And so it was quite easy to just chip off the semi-set mortar. But, and I did it in the pouring rain as well. and redid it. I lost a day and probably it might have been, I didn't lose any slabs, thankfully, but I probably lost a day, which is annoying enough, and maybe £100 or more in sand and cement. And I'm trying to think of other little things. Oh yeah, self-leveling. This is a cracker. Self-leveling a floor with, now you assume self-leveling compound is going to self-level because you hear self-level. And when you watch, I must have spent days watching loads of videos because this is how I still do my prep. I'll if I'm not sure about anything, I will watch and watch and watch.
Yeah.
But what I can't stand about YouTube, I love YouTube. Sorry, my dog's barking. But what I can't stand about YouTube is it always shows you the success stories at the top of the results, and so you've got to dig deeper. So if you watch all of those at the top. But obviously, they're feel-good videos that give you the inspiration. But anyway, so when I self-leveled it, and me and my husband were doing it together, he was doing the mixing outside, and I was having to pour it in here and use a squeegee on a stick just to spread it about a little bit. Well, maybe too much, but when you look online, there were a lot of people saying, oh, add water to your mix, it levels out better. The problem is everybody's got their own ideas of how it works. So when it all set, it looked amazing. But when I put a straight edge on it, I'm pretty confident we made it worse than what it was. And so by the time I'd mapped out all of these dips, they were everywhere. And it was vital for putting hardwood flooring down because I didn't want any wavy dips. And there were a few people that said, this is a great advert for carpet. It's because you really don't need to worry about that then. So yeah, I just assumed, well, you've got to try things once, I must admit. And in the end, I had to just do spot patch. I had to screed areas with a straight edge in doing patch fills. But
Wow.
to be honest, I never wanted to self-level the whole floor anyway. My husband and some family members said, but not my dad, some family members said, oh, just do the whole place. Okay, there were some cracks in the concrete, so it did benefit from that. But we just lost so much time. And actually, that's been one of the best performing videos this year, because people want to see when things go wrong. And the amount of comments that have said, oh, you should have done it like this. And then the next person said, you should have done that way. And that nobody is on the same page. One saying one thing, one saying the other. So, and they've also said they've hired people and they've got it wrong. So yeah, you just can't. I didn't beat myself up about it, because I think one thing I've learned by now is you just can't get everything right first time. But when somebody sees you on the internet doing this one thing wrong, oh, get back in the kitchen, love.
No.
They see this one little thing because they've never seen you before. They just think you're hopeless at everything. But I find it funny.
Well, I guess it's hey, a comment's a comment, right? More people will see it.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to pin them for fun.
Yeah.
And then people will just pounce on them.
Good. Let them take care of themselves. With that in mind then, because I mean, for a lot of people, I'm not going to call it a mistake, a learning curve like that might really take away their confidence to do anything else.
Yes.
What would you say to people how can someone build their confidence within their DIY skills, even if they're making mistakes?
Well, something that you've just said there is about not ruining their potential future DIY journey, which that I think is so vital. I think it's really important to start small. And I say this all the time. I know that tiny job might look really ridiculous and you might feel pathetic for not knowing it, but you can't know everything. And by starting small on lots of little jobs, you'll be amazed how much you will learn over time. And then you'll realize when you need to do bigger jobs that need several things, you've learned all of these things. And then you're starting to fly through it more and like, oh, I know what to do because I did that last week on that. And you'll become the best problem solver. It's a little bit like learning how to drive. You don't know what you're doing initially and things will come. Yeah. But start small. Don't dive in the deep end doing self-leveling. It's very hard to try and find the best kind of project because you might have to do self-leveling on your own. That might be the only job that you've got to do in your house. So you might want to try screeding first. So do little things and try and get advice from people.
Yeah, I love that. And like you say, start small, build up, get that confidence going.
Yeah.
And take on the world.
I can give you loads of examples where I've just put up with something even in this house last week, I felt stupid that we've got we've got a kitchen and 2 bathrooms in this house. And because it had flooded, all of the pipes most of the pipes had burst up in the loft. And so because I'd learned how to plumb, basic plumbing, using plastic speed fit, it was quite easy to fix. But once we got the water running, we noticed that all of the taps were working apart from the sink, the basin in the bathroom. And I just thought, we tried with WD-40, thinking it would, because the actual knobs felt seized.
Yeah.
And you had to really kind of go like that to like a minute of trying to get the handles to the knobs to loosen up. It sounds a bit rude, but it just wouldn't work.
Wow.
So everyone who came to the house has said, "Oh, just it doesn't work. You'll have to wash your hands in at the bath."
Yeah, the taps in the bath.
Yeah, the taps in the bath. Anyway, I saw this little YouTube or short or reel last week to say, well, if they're not working, try this. Close the faucet of your hot tap or the other. If you think there's an airlock, close that and run the cold tap. It worked instantly, and it's worked ever since. So I've put up with that for 2 years, for nearly 2 years.
And that was a solution.
But I just didn't bother with it because I thought I'll deal with it when I rip it out.
Redo it,
I thought I can't. We've lived with it, but there's so many little jobs like that in everybody's house, like fixing loose screws. That we've put up with loose kitchen cabinet doors, or I had somebody fit a kitchen for me years and years ago, but they didn't bother to do the integrated fridge freezer door, and so we had to open the cover bit first, and then the fridge, and then I just assumed it'd be really hard to do. I found this attachment online. It took me about 5 minutes to screw it on. It's these little tiny things that people are putting off because they just assume that they don't know how to do it. It's hard work, and it just become life changing. I kick myself for not knowing or not bothering with things like that.
Yeah, not I guess researching the small things, just thinking, it just must be really difficult, but actually small solutions.
Exactly.
I love that. Vikkie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so lovely chatting to you, and that inspiration is what we need. So keep putting up your mistakes, keep showing us the things that are going wrong.
Be proud.
Of them.
Be proud of them. And don't be afraid to share them.
Yes. Yeah. We all make mistakes, right? Let's more of that on the internet. That's what we need. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, thank you everyone for watching as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Also to Vickie's page as well. Where do we find you?
Almost everywhere these days. The Carpenter's Daughter on YouTube, and I'm on Instagram and TikTok as well.
Perfect. Vikkie, thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
thank you for having me.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks.